Good morning. Happy Easter Monday, everybody. Welcome to the RDO podcast, episode 89 with the boys, Jason and Alex Voncal. How are you this morning, Alex?
I'm good. I've had a very hectic week. I've got a shed full of cars. It was a very short week. I was away on the weekend.
Would you say you've got a shed load of cards?
I would say I've got a shed load of cars. And now I've just got to sell some because I'm running out of money.
Fair enough.
I was supposed to get up early and pay bills this morning. And I slept in. So that's a tomorrow job. And I really need to sell stuff.
Yeah, well, I guess, are you paying bills online?
Yeah.
Using transfer?
Yeah.
In, like, old banking terms?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's public holiday. You can pay for it any day over this weekend. So we're recording from Good Friday. Happy Easter weekend to all of you. So whether you're whatever race, creed, religion, whatever, just enjoy the long weekend. If you're working, it sucks to be you. So,
Well, it's a different thing now. Like most car dealerships, they never open on Good Friday, but most car dealerships would at least be open tomorrow.
On Saturday. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and
because there might be people from interstate who are coming to kick tyres, and who's going to talk to them?
But I did the ring around through the week, and nobody's opening. There's no stock to sell. There's nothing to sell. So everyone's having a long weekend.
When has that ever gotten in the way of a dealership opening before?
Only now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, maybe changes are coming. Maybe things are shifting in the motor trade.
Maybe. Just a quick shout down to GoPro.
Yeah.
We had this grandiose idea of being able to slightly change the way that we edit and basically encapsulate everything on one piece of software as opposed to the current amalgamation that Jason has to go through. And we spent, half an hour, 40 minutes trying to set up, got no closer. Your software sucks.
Yep.
Why do you have to download two different pieces of software to... why can't it all be in-house? Why does it not fit on a standard laptop screen? Your actual program that you can't resize. It's dumb. It sucks. It's always sucked. It sucked from when we first got them for go-karting. It sucked back then, and it still sucks now. They cost you a fortune. It sucks. GoPro, you suck.
Yeah. So shout down to
It's a
GoPro.
camera. You're a camera.
You just be better.
No, but it's a camera. It's nothing fancy, but a camera.
Yeah.
Be a camera. Why can't you let me connect the camera to the computer and use it as an input device?
Because that would be too easy.
You suck.
So yeah, that might be the next upgrade we make to the podcast. I want to share a bit of a funny story. Well, it might only be funny to me because I'm a parent, and most non-parents don't really care about this stuff. But
We'll find out.
Alex shared with me a new TV show to watch this week called Is it Old Enough?
Isn't it called My First Errand?
No, it's called Old Enough.
Okay.
And basically it's a Japanese TV show, and it's so Japanese, about sort of kids that are between the ages of like 2.5 and 4, who they say that they're old enough to then run an errand. So my first comment to you was like, this is so Japanese because you're 2 years old, go to work.
Yeah.
But we watched the first episode the other day. They're like 7-8 minute episodes, really short, like really sweet. And in the first episode, this kid who's like 2 years and 9 months old gets told to go to the store and buy 3 items.
Yeah.
It's like curry and a certain flavour of curry,
Yeah.
flowers and something else.
Yeah.
And the store is
Is it milk?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And the store's a kilometre away from his house.
A kilometre.
So he has to walk the whole way there.
By himself.
Find the items, purchase them using cash money, and then walk all the way home. And so I'm watching it, and it's super cute.
It is very cute.
Yeah. And then I was thinking about my own kids.
I was thinking about your kids too.
And my 2-year-old Nate, who is 2 years and almost 3 months now. So 6 months younger than this kid.
Right.
And one of the things that's become a bit of an issue at daycare is whenever I go to collect him from daycare, his hat's gone missing. So obviously at some point during the day, he scuds the hat and it's just missing somewhere in the yard. And every afternoon we play the game of, all right, where's your hat, Nate? Let's go and find your hat. And we have to search around the whole yard. It takes another 20, 25 minutes. There's another kid there who's like a friend of Nate's who helps me out every single time we go there, which is great. So we have to play this stupid game every time. So after watching that show on Wednesday night, on Thursday morning, I said to Nate, you're old enough now to like keep track of where your hat is and keep your hat on. I want you to make sure when I pick you up this afternoon, you know where your hat is. Can you do that? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, great. So Thursday afternoon comes by. I roll into daycare. And whenever I roll in, and I think a lot of parents probably do this, I spy on my kid for a little while just to make sure he's happy. Too. Yeah. But some non-parents do a lot of this.
Other people's kids.
Yeah. But you want to make sure that they're interacting with other kids, having a good time, rather than, because every daycare centre is just going to be like, oh, they had a great day today, and they're all good. So
then the Ben Stiller closes the door. Read the name tag, Grandma. Yeah. You're in my world now.
Can I trouble you for a warm glass of milk?
You can trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up.
Now you go to sleep, or I'll put you to sleep. Read the name tag, Grandma. You're in my world now.
Classic
reference. So yeah, anyway, I'm spying on Nate, and I can see he's got his hat on. Fantastic. So I walk in, I'm like, oh, great work, Nate. You've got your hat on. And one shoe. So then we had to find his fucking shoe that had gone missing. So yeah, I don't know if I can trust him to walk a kilometre, buy products, and walk home yet.
Well, it just reinforced to me that Asian kids are better than white kids. Like, you got to admit, they did some impressive stuff.
They did. I was stoked with the second kid who fucked around as much as Nate would have when he got home.
And then lied. Yeah. Like, yeah, I've juiced it.
Yeah.
It's done.
Legend. So the second kid was sent home from the mandarin farm to make mandarin juice and then bring it back for the workers. And he just went home, fucked around with his toys, and then when Mum called, he just lied and said he'd already done it.
And then
that's got to be my kid.
And then when she called the second time, he hung up on her.
Yeah, and that kid will end up in the motor trade.
So stay in school, kids.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that is very cute. Now, the big story.
Yeah.
And you, put in the comments if you saw my. I want to see what kind of cut through we got.
Mm-hmm.
I posted something on Instagram and on YouTube Shorts.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw it, put a right poo in the comments. Elon Musk is trying to buy Twitter.
Yeah.
Now, I spoke about this on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the story had developed where he bought a 9% share of it.
9.2, to be specific.
And at that time, when I had posted that, he had a board seat.
Yeah, so the 9.2% made him Twitter's largest shareholder, and he had a seat on the board, that is right.
Now, what changed after that, a couple of days later, the Parag Agarwal came out, who's the CEO of Twitter, who replaced Jack Dorsey. He came out and said, hey, there's going to be a lot of noise coming up, but we've decided that it's best for everyone if Elon Musk does not have a board seat.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
he didn't come out and say that. That was an internal memo to Twitter employees.
They got leaked, yeah. Now, that got me thinking in overdrive. I was like, okay, is that a power play, or was that purely them saying, no, get out? Or is there something more to it?
Mm-hmm.
When I dug a little bit deeper, if you were a board member, you've got to run everything through the board.
Yeah. You've also got a fiscal responsibility to the company to all of your actions need to be to benefit the company itself.
And you also have a maximum, like any future ownership needs to be
capped.
Yeah.
That's right.
At like 14%.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, there's something else at play here. This must be an Elon move, not a Parag Agarwal move.
Definitely.
Then a couple of days later, Elon Musk puts a bid to buy all the shares.
So prior to that, he had foregone his seat on the board.
Yeah. So you're right. So
there's a bit of a series of events that happen here. So obviously,
hold on. I want to even jump before that. He was throwing a whole bunch of stuff up on Twitter, getting people like polling to the people on Twitter, and said some interesting stuff. Like anyone would do going into a new business. You would have a look and ask some questions. You know, why do we do it like this? Why is this like that?
Mm-hmm.
And hey, what do you think about this? And just to get an understanding of where the business is at.
Yeah.
And like an interesting one was like the top 3 people or the top 5 highest followed Twitter users don't even use Twitter.
That's right. They don't even post anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Justin Bieber's got 150 million followers and never posts.
Yeah.
So,
Talks the point.
but that was an interesting point, something that I'd never even thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then he deleted them all.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, all right, so something's brewing here.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gives up his seat on the board.
Yeah.
And that's when he pitches the idea, filed it correctly through the SEC. He says he has since posted his SEC. I think his tweet was something like, "I did a thing," because he's the king. He's the king of Twitter.
Yeah.
And he effectively has offered $54 or $55 per share. Now, Twitter's currently at 40, I think it's $42 or $43 when I checked this morning. He's paying a premium. So the way he then posted something that he'd sent to Argowal, which was effectively saying, when I bought Twitter, it pumped by 30%.
Mm-hmm.
I will pay a premium at today's price.
Mm-hmm.
So he was going to pay $55, which is a 30% increase on what... No, it was like a 20% increase on what his pumped price is, and it's like a 30% increase on what it was pre-Elon.
Yeah.
This is my final offer. It works out, it's a $42 billion deal.
Mm-hmm.
This is my final offer. There's no negotiation.
I've gone straight to the end price. Your shareholders will love it.
Yep. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I believe that Twitter can no longer move forward unless it has some big change, which can't be done
unless it's private. Yeah.
Now, he's tried to do this before. I don't know if you remember, Tesla was being smashed by regulation in the States. And a lot of, because he was tweeting stuff, the prices was going up and down, the SEC was on his back. He was getting, I think he had to pay a $50 million fine for something he'd said on Twitter.
He's been sanctioned a few times for, I guess you would call it, like market manipulation using Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a funny side story to the current Twitter thing in regards to market manipulation too, involving Elon Musk.
Yeah, so he had said that he'd found a Saudi donor that was willing to buy all the shares.
Right.
So he's making a big play. Now, I suppose I want to ask everyone, what do you think? Why do you think he's buying it? Why do you think Elon Musk is buying Twitter?
So, yeah, just I guess a little bit of background, and that funny little side story for me too is that Elon Musk was actually 11 days late in filing his paperwork with the SEC about his acquisition of that 9.2%. Did you hear about this, Angle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was 11 days late, so essentially what happens is if you buy a significant stake in any company, like any share portfolio, you need to file with the SEC in America, and then that becomes public knowledge. In the meantime, between him buying that 9.2% stake and 11 days later filing with the SEC, he actually had bought up more stock on top of that 9.2% at the current market rate.
Yeah.
When he then filed with the SEC 11 days later, that was when the 30% pump happened.
Right.
So he actually made $159 million from the additional stock he bought in the meantime when he went overdue on filing with the SEC.
Now, a lot of people are jumping on that as look, it's just millionaires or billionaires making millions. Honestly, that's chump change. That's not the reason why people do it.
Like you said, $159 million he made, but it's a $42 billion acquisition he's trying to make. It is chump change.
It is chump change.
I just think it's a real funny, it's a typical Elon Musk half troll, half just being a smart dude move to, which billionaire hasn't delayed some paperwork for financial gain before? Right?
I don't think that's what it was. I don't think that's what it was about, though. I don't think he would ever have been able. If he had filed that paperwork when he was supposed to, I don't think he would have been able to buy anymore.
Exactly. That was the point.
Yeah. So it's not like a money-making thing. It was purely an ownership and acquisition type thing. So how he can acquire...
Yeah, it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Because obviously if he filed that paperwork and had his board seat, he couldn't buy any more than what he was purchasing.
Correct, yeah.
But look, it's really interesting because when you did your last episode and the public was talking about Elon Musk's interest in purchasing a significant amount of Twitter stock, there was a lot of people on the freedom of speech movement side of things who were very, very happy with that.
Yeah.
Because look, I'll be frank. I've got a Twitter account. I never go on Twitter because, as far as I'm concerned, it's an absolute cesspool of left-wing ideology.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's literally lefties slinging gender politics at each other.
Yeah, and it's not fun. I don't think I've ever gone on Twitter and have felt positive.
Yeah.
If I go on Instagram, my Instagram feed is pretty much at the moment UFC news, other NBA and other sports news, and steak and outdoor barbecue videos. That's pretty much what I see. So I go on there and I scroll through the search function. I find that quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
But then someone will send me something on Twitter, and then I'll go and I'll watch the clip or whatever it is, and it's just a negative cesspool. And what's interesting in regards to this is the amount of times in the past where you've had people who have complained about censorship on Twitter, because Twitter is a big deal. I think it's got something like 300 million users. Mm-hmm. It's the largest social media platform. Mm-hmm. But what the big deal is about Twitter is it is the platform that most of the, I guess you would call them elites, spend most of their time on.
Sure.
In regards to social media.
It's the best broadcast mechanism for
That's
information.
right.
Yeah.
So Twitter shapes a lot of the social discourse.
Absolutely.
And therefore shapes a lot of policy, because as we've seen in recent years, most policy now is based on populist opinion rather than on what's the right way to do things.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why Twitter's so important. And the pro-Twitter, the way it is, advocates have said for a long time, if you don't fucking like it, go and make your own social media platform. And we've seen platforms try to do that. You've seen platforms like Getter. What was the one that got shut down during the presidential election?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so there was one that came out, and then you guys remember the stories, and this is how long it's been already. That thing got shut down quick smart because it wouldn't. None of the servers would support that platform anymore. So people have tried to do it differently. There's Truth Social, Donald Trump's.
It's been a bit of a flop.
Which has been an absolute flop.
Yeah.
So I guess with Elon sitting back looking at all this, he's gone, okay, I've got the smarts. Could I go and invest all of my time in creating my own social media platform? Well, look at all these people who've tried it. A lot of these people are fairly capable with a lot of money behind them. They have failed. Well, what's the best way to go then? Purchase the reigning king and turn it into what you want. Because you've already got the user base on it.
Which is interesting because we spoke about it here, where we thought something was up because Elon was talking to Jack Dorsey. And they were talking about launching one. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jackie comes back.
As the CEO of Twitter 2.0?
Yeah. So, look, I'm with you. I think, and if you notice now, there's a very big divide. Some people are very anti-Elon.
Yeah.
I am very pro-Elon. I would love to see a world where Elon gets to direct Twitter where he wants.
Yeah.
Where he thinks it should go. And he has a good time on it. He has, they call him the meme lord. He's not the best at memes. It's just a guy that you don't expect to do memes because he's a...
Yeah, that's right. It's like he gets a meme handicap because he's a guy with Asperger's billionaire who's got way too much on his plate to be trolling people online.
Yeah, but he's still doing it and he's having a good time. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm on Twitter is because of Elon.
Right.
Now, the other thing, I used to like Twitter as a great way to understand news that's happening right now. So if you see a whole bunch of police cars fly past, you used to be able to just jump on and look for hashtags, and it would tell you. But that's starting to go away now because it's just getting overloaded. I think people are so dejected with what's on there that they're not having that input.
I think that a lot of that functional stuff has been overloaded by the fact that people are everyone wants interaction. So if you were a constant poster, a lot of people want to have that endorphin release that you get when everyone interacts with your posts. So what that means is, if there's an accident in Helensvale, but there's also a UFC event on, everyone will be posting hashtag UFC 267.
Yeah. So
And
breaking the algorithm.
That's right. And because you've got millions of people posting about the it thing at the time just so they get seen, the algorithm goes with them. Whereas, back in, like you said, back in the day, which wasn't that long ago.
No.
5 years ago?
No, not even. I reckon
Maybe not even
2 years ago I was using it that way.
Yeah, because I would do the same thing. I'd have a helicopter going over the house, and you'd go, you just search for police Helensvale or whatever, and you would find out there was an accident or there was a missing child or whatever it was. But I think that as far as social media goes, there has been this massive shift towards just getting attention, and I think the majority of people who post on social media just shouldn't. If they could just get out of the way and let us listen to the people like Elon,
well,
that would be great.
Voice for Victoria is a perfect example. So she'll post up these Twitter spats that these politicians are having, and you're like, you guys are falling for, you guys are trolling yourselves.
That's right.
You can't even see yourself doing it. You say dumb stuff, get owned on it, say something dumber to try and cover it up, but now you've just put it in the public sphere.
But also, the worst thing about that sort of stuff when you live in a world of algorithms is the people saying the dumb shit who are in positions of influence, like these politicians. The only people who see their dumb shit are their supporters who believe their dumb shit. And then on the other side, you've got the other side saying equally dumb shit, that it's only being seen by their supporters who believe equally dumb shit.
So I want to see it. And I spoke to a mate during the week he's got shares in Twitter.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't really want to sell my shares to him. But he also said, I'd love to see an Elon run Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see it too. I just think it would be super cool. Now, my question, when he owns it, because he will, I had a look back at the shares. It's never been over $55, so he may as well take the money.
Yeah.
Does he let Trump back on?
Of course.
Yeah.
And the way that you know that is because when he provided Starlink access to Ukraine for the war, and he was asked to censor and prevent any Russian disinformation being uploaded from Russians on Starlink, he said no. He said, sorry, my idea of freedom of speech is different to other people's. So what's interesting, I've seen a lot of articles about this in recent days where people are trying to demonise Elon. And what's interesting is this all comes down to the fact that everyone is against censorship unless it's their kind of censorship. So whether it's left-wing politics, right-wing politics, whatever, they all claim to be pro freedom of speech, as long as it's freedom of their speech, not freedom of your speech. And that's on both sides of politics.
Yeah,
So a lot of the articles that I've seen written lately have been written by left-wing outlets demonising Elon, going, "Oh, this is exactly what we need."
Can we start calling him far left?
Oh, if you want to, I don't.
You don't
I don't
mind
want to
doing
call people far left or far right, unless you're talking about probably the Azov battalion in Ukraine.
Yeah.
They're far right.
Yeah.
Far right ain't people in Melbourne protesting for freedom.
Yeah.
But these outlets are demonising Elon, going, "Oh, this is exactly what we need. There's no such thing as free speech when a billionaire controls it." And it's like, hold on. The only reason why you were saying these articles is because currently the freedom of speech rules promote your ideology and they censor the other one that you don't like. What you're really upset about is the fact that if Elon takes it over, then the other ideology will be able to speak just as freely as you can, and then everyone can be tasked to decide for themselves.
Now, we aren't just assuming that that's the way that'll go.
Yeah.
Because he might create an algorithm that only allows memes.
Maybe.
In which case, I believe Barstool Sports will be the king, because they've employed
They'll be up there for
the
sure.
the king of, the meme master. I think that was years ago, but anyway, I'm just catching up on Barstool stuff.
The other thing too, and I mean, it would not make sense to do it from a business perspective, but from a global perspective, he could even just shut it down. He could just go, you know what? I've seen what impact Twitter's having on humanity. I don't like it.
Yeah,
And
I
just
can't
switch
see a $41 billion investment being switched off.
Why not?
Well, because I think there is some real intrinsic value. I think it's a very powerful thing. It is a very good way to get ideas shared. It can be done better. I don't think he'll ever flick it off. Well, sorry, not in the short term. Maybe in the future he may. But I think it is a very powerful tool.
Agreed.
And it can be used for good.
Yep.
It just hasn't.
Explore that idea.
So, look, we'll see. We'll see. It is a massive, massive... I think we're lucky to see something as big as this in our... This is probably the largest acquisition in a generation. And I've already noticed too, Business Insider had posted that when Jeff Bezos bought the New York Times, New York Post, New York Times, whatever, they were saying, oh, such an interesting thing that a billionaire gets to buy a thing. Well, I wonder what that world looks like. And now slamming Elon for doing it, saying that this is like a massive threat. It's effectively the same thing. It's two billionaires controlling certain amounts of information coming in and out. Now, do I back Elon and his ideology over Jeff Bezos and his ideology? Yeah, I do. I think Bezos is more about promoting modern day slavery in the way Jeff Bezos runs his, or Amazon runs their system than Elon has. So I think we're very lucky to sit in the box seat to watch this unfold. I think it's very cool.
So let me ask you this: if this goes through, and like you were saying, from a shareholder perspective, if you invested in Twitter to make money, it makes the most sense to take the deal.
Yeah.
He's offering a figure that is far higher than the stock has ever gone to, and I would probably be fairly wary if I was a Twitter investor who then refused the deal, because he's still a majority shareholder at this point in time. So what happens?
He did say he was going to sell.
Yeah, and he could just dump it, and then what happens to the share price? Then it obviously crashes. So you probably, it is your best case scenario just to take the money.
Sorry, the high, I've just got it up here now, the high the high has been $73.
Okay.
That's the highest it's
How
ever
long
been.
ago was that?
That was not that long ago, the February 19. Sorry, 19th of February 2021.
19th
So I
of
think
February 2021.
That's when all the tech stocks started to kick back off again. That's when everything went up. Everything was arbitrarily pumped by that stage. But that was also Jack Dorsey times, not this Parag. It's failing.
Yeah.
Like that business, if you let it go, that's failing. And there is a very steep drop off.
Yeah, you can see that on the graph there.
Yeah, after that. But honestly, it's sat around that sort of $53 mark. You know, if you averaged it out, $53 to $54 is probably more than fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, when it's currently at $45 and he's offering 54, you're looking at an extra $9 a share. That's 20% above what it's currently valued at.
And it's only valued that because of him.
Yeah, because it's bounced up. Like you said, wasn't it like 38 recently?
Why is that not showing the number? That there is... Yeah, $36.
Yeah, so it's had a massive bump already. And
Just because of him.
And then you're offering 20% above the already massive bump. So
the deal's fair.
100%.
I want to see what happens. I wonder, I always ask myself, okay, if I was financially invested in it, what would I want to see? Obviously, I would want to see a return. I think that I would never have invested in it in Parag times because I just don't think he's got what it takes to... I don't think a software engineer is the answer to, is the right leader for this type of thing.
No. None of Twitter's problems are software related. All of Twitter's problems are socio-politically related. So you don't get
What's internal ideology?
Yeah, so you don't get a software engineer to fix those problems.
Yeah.
You get someone who understands society, or not even that understands it. You get someone who's got a vision for where they want society to go.
I don't like that either. See, I don't. That to me, that's imprinting. You shouldn't decide where you think society should go. You should let society decide where society goes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So if you just add it, my vision, and I hope Elon's is the same, is let's make it unfettered, so that all the ideas can be on there, and hopefully that will form society.
Yeah.
Let society form society.
Yeah, and isn't it? It's what I find so amazing at the moment with the current global landscape is just thinking about how quickly things have changed in such a short period of time during this pandemic in the last 2 years. So all the COVID stuff aside, I mean, sorry, you can't really put it all aside, but look at how censorship has ramped up in the last 2 years when it comes to these social media platforms. Look at how Joe Rogan's podcast has been affected in the last 2 years just because of these platforms. Now you have to have a COVID warning on every single podcast. Like I remember before when they first proposed putting COVID warnings on his podcast, it was only on the ones that they specifically spoke about COVID. Now it's on every episode.
Yeah.
I mentioned to you during the week, and I think it's been somewhat fixed on our feed, but even we were sort of half in the naughty corner with YouTube because they disabled our time code and chapter functions on all of our videos. And from me doing a bit of sort of searching around, that's like one of the, I guess, soft ways of hitting you for saying no words, because they just turn that functionality off, so then people can't search for it as well.
Well, I want to take it a step further than that. Web 2 sucks. And what do I mean? Let me give you some examples of Web 2 sucking. A, why are we letting companies decide what we can talk about?
Yep, agreed.
Okay, that's if you take a step out of it, that's crazy.
Yep.
Why is a company allowed to say what you can and can't talk about? That makes no sense.
On that note, I watched a brief clip from Russell Brand yesterday, and he was talking about this is the reason why, and this is relevant to the whole COVID thing. But during the COVID pandemic and since then, television advertising spend in America, 75% of the advertising revenue comes from pharmaceutical companies. So when you question as to why certain things are allowed to be spoken about on social media and certain things aren't, it's because 75% of these businesses' income is reliant upon you not saying no words on their platform.
Yeah. So if you're now letting companies decide, not just the company that the platform that you're using, but you're letting their advertisers decide what you can and can't speak about, that's crazy.
Yeah. Why? Because everything is profit-based. If you're allowing companies to decide what you can speak about, it's like, what's a company's motivation? Profit. That's it. And that should be the underlying motive of any business, is how much profit can I make? And that's okay. But that should not infect social discourse.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine if it's the equivalent of being at a barbecue and you're talking with your close friends, and then you bring up a touchy subject and someone comes over and says, oh, you're not allowed to speak about this because we're using Aldi sausages, and Aldi doesn't like you speaking about that particular thing. Like, if you really look at it, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Number two, when you walk around on the internet, what's this asking for cookies bullshit? Every single page is interrupted by a cookie. Hey, do you accept cookies? Of course I accept the cookies.
Yeah.
Okay? I do it all for the cookie. Now, do you know what else is broken? If you go to a shop, right? Let's say you go to a physical shop. You go to a market stall and you buy a candle. Show me what that interaction looks like.
Hey, what was your name?
Alex.
Alex, oh, nice to meet you, Alex. My name's Jason. I'm looking at buying a scented candle for the misso. Don't really know what
here's
I'm talking
scented
about.
candle.
Okay. Oh, cool. Yeah.
$5.
That looks great. Yeah, done. Let's do a deal.
Okay. Here's that on the internet. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm selling scented candles. What's your name? What's your address? What's your phone number?
Yeah.
Click on an email. I've sent you an email. Click to confirm that you're a person and not a bot.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know what's even worse about it, though? Do you know what I fucking hate about sponsored ads? It's not only that interaction that you've just displayed, but it's that interaction after you've already bought the fucking product.
Yeah.
Because it has tracked you where you've gone on the internet.
Yeah.
You've been to a website. You've already bought the fucking thing, and then it sends you advertising for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I already own it.
Yeah.
What a waste of ad spend.
Yeah. And look, that algo-wise stuff should be fixed. Like, that's.
But why would you fix it when the company because if it's on the same day, the company who's selling the advertising just goes, oh, see, I sold an ad that day and you got a sale that day.
No. If you've got... That's something that they should fix, but I don't think they're going to have time to do it, because I think Web3 is going to fix a lot of that. And how's it going to do it? Okay, for a start, let's create an internet that doesn't follow you around.
Yeah.
Okay, for a start, because that's what a cookie is. A cookie follows, grabs you some of your metadata.
Yeah.
It kind of knows who you are. It kind of doesn't. It knows what you've touched, and it knows what to show you. So imagine walking through the market, and a little kid says, "Oh, he's looked at salted peanuts.
Yeah.
I'm going to show him." So as he walks up to the sausage stand, I'm going to show him salted peanuts thing. Okay,
Yep.
that's effectively what a cookie does. So let's get rid of that. That sucks. And I think in Europe they've just ruled against you're not allowed to track people.
Right.
So like Europe's really at the start of trying to bring it back to the people. And I think that's what Web3 is going to become.
Yeah.
Now, to answer the thing about leaving your name, phone number, postcode, circumcision status on a purchase online, crypto, in the crypto world, they are building their own version of what a digital identity is, which is a token that represents you that has none of your identifiers on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an encrypted version of you.
Yeah.
I'm far more comfortable with that.
Yeah, because it's basically
when I go to a
agreement.
market, you don't need to know where I live.
That's right.
You just need to know that I'm a person and I'm trying to buy something from you and I've got the money. That's all you need to know. So build that into the code. I think that's a cool thing. So that's coming.
Do you remember only a short period of time ago, if you went to buy something online, they asked you those questions, you'd be like, fuck, I'm not buying this. Where else can I get it from?
Yeah.
You would literally leave that website to go and find the same product or something similar somewhere else, just because you're like, I'm not giving you name, date of birth, phone number, literally every piece of information that you need to steal my online identity. I'm not giving you that shit.
Yeah.
And guess what? Well, I'm keen in a fucking credit card as well. No, thanks, mate. I'm going to go somewhere else. And now, in such a short period of time, we're so comfortable with handing over all that personal data.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. It shouldn't happen.
But not even from the personal information side of things. It's just clunky.
Yeah.
It's just a clunky way to...
It takes way too much time.
It's just clicks that you don't need.
Yeah.
So, look, I think crypto, Web3 fixes a lot of that. Another example I've got of where Web 2 sucks to Web 3 is when... I've just lost it now. It was so beautiful as well. I was only just... Oh, yeah. Apps. Do you know apps? So Dad needs a new phone because his phone is now too old to run an app that he wants to use.
Yeah.
Okay, so every single piece of technology that's in an app form needs to go through the Google Play Store or the Android Store, Apple Store, or some fringe side-loading hackathon thing. That sucks.
Yeah.
So Dad's phone works fine, but it's now no use to him because one of the main things that he uses on it, he now can't use because of some arbitrary change on the app landscape. So web app. So my protocol that I'm building is going to be a Web3 web app.
Yeah.
So it can run on any device at any time, or any updates are done on our side and not... I don't care what anyone else does. And how come... And think about how smart Apple and this is where Liam used to piss me off all the time. He's so happy about it. He loves this stuff because he loves how Apple was smart enough to create its own markets and have everything internal. And he thinks Google's so smart because they've encapsulated the internet. Doesn't think about the fact that it literally fucks the users over.
Yeah, like it's smart from a business perspective. It's shit from a user perspective.
Yeah, and like I've said all the time, as a business, if you want to be successful, your success needs to be in line with what your customers are trying to achieve.
Agreed.
Not counter to.
No, that's right.
And at the moment, it's getting far and far, further and further away from being in line. It's becoming an issue.
Yeah.
So Web3 is the answer. And I think that why this Twitter thing is huge, because I think he's going to give it a big shaker. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of it, but I only think it's kind of cements what Web3 and the new version of the internet is going to be.
Yeah, well, look, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens from here. And I'm sure there's going to be moves on it even just over the weekend. So by the time this drops, I'm sure there's going to be some information that's coming out. Pay attention to it. If anything major does come out, we'll throw up another short or something like that as well, just to sort of recap the latest happenings. But this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this don't even use Twitter. Why is this a big deal? Because the people who make the decisions that affect you in your life, every single one of them is on Twitter and they're being affected by Twitter. And unfortunately, they'll run Twitter polls and shit all the time. And okay, there's maybe 300 million users. There's 8 billion people on the planet. So it's only a very small amount of people that are on there. But unfortunately, when these people go to Twitter and go, hey, you guys, hey Twitter world, what do you think about this? And then the Twitter world tells them, they think that that's a real world representation, whether it is or it isn't. So
it's not even that transparent. So they can pull, you can get an app or an API to run over, and you can get a gist of what is being spoken about.
Yeah.
Without running a poll.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what our politicians will be doing.
100%.
Our politicians will be saying, hey,
those
what's
nudge
everyone
units
saying?
that we've spoken about before,
Yeah.
they do a lot of that stuff because they go, oh, based on online chatter, oh, Dan Andrews, yeah, you seemed way too hard line in your last press conference. So what we need to do, we need to lose the red tie. We need to maybe just, have no tie. Oh, put on the North Face jacket. Yeah, just soften things up a little bit.
Dan Andrews needs to stop looking directly at the camera and smiling. He's got very aggressive canines. He does look like a vampire.
Yeah, Dan Andrews just needs to fuck off. Okay, so we're going to move on from
Yeah, we're done.
Let's talk a little bit about Aussie politics, because there's a little bit of stuff going on at the moment. Not a whole lot of major things, but obviously we've got the election coming in, I think it's 6 weeks' time, roughly. And Albo has completely fucked himself many times in the first week as far as...
I'm going to push back on that, but you go.
I believe he has shot himself in the foot a lot of times on the campaign trail in the last week or so. ScoMo is actually doing a little bit of kind of what Joe Biden was doing last year, where he was sort of just trying to sort of stay a little bit quiet and let Albo shoot himself in the foot. And then...
That's my pushback.
Why?
My pushback is not that Albo's shot himself in the foot. It's that they're showing you Albo shooting himself in the foot, and they're not showing
sure
anything.
That's a lot of it. But
the news has been so disgustingly one-sided on the... I opened up a paper on the weekend, and the first page says, our commitment to you is that we are going to remain impartial during this.
Yeah.
And then the front page, 3/4 Scott doing something cool, 1/4 Albo doing something bad on the front cover. And I was with a mate, and he's like, look at how pathetically, like, they're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not cool.
So I copped that 100%, but here's where I disagree with you. Early on in my sales career, the best piece of advice I was ever given by a manager was, if you want anyone to give a shit about what you think, you need everyone to know that 99.9% of the time, you know what you're doing, you do the right thing. So, Albo coming into this campaign knows full fucking well that the entire media landscape is against him in this race. He should know that. So the stuff-ups that he made were not knowing the absolute basics of what he needed to know to campaign properly.
Yeah, I think you're just buying into that narrative. Because...
so a guy who's a Labor government who is supposed to be fighting for the working man doesn't know what the cash rate is, doesn't know what was the other term they didn't know?
The unemployment rate.
Was.
The unemployment rate is a bullshit number. There is no way...
I get that.
There is no way...
Because they don't take into consideration underemployment. I know.
No, it's not just that. It's not just that. Really think about your network, right?
Right.
Are there more people without work now than what there were 5-10 years ago? Think about your own network.
Of course there is.
Yeah, yet it's somehow that percentage is lower. So it's a bullshit arbitrary number.
Yeah,
it's one that they're getting us to tie to like it's the be all and end all.
But I'm not even worried about it. Like the cash rate. Obviously, mortgage stress is a big thing for Australian families.
Yeah.
If you're campaigning, saying you're the Labor government, like campaigning for the everyday man, the blue collar workers, you don't even know what the cash rate is. Surely you would assume that's coming up on the campaign trail. So
you should know what the cash rate is.
What I'm saying is, if I was Albo, I would be rolling into this going, every single media outlet is against me. I can't make a mistake. What do I need to know? I'll be sitting down, I'll be talking to my advisors going, what are the key talking points? What are all the stats? I need to know fucking everything because I need to be seamless. And he hasn't been.
I reckon even if he did, you would never see it. And that's
yeah,
what's
you might be
been
right. But also, you wouldn't see him fucking up either. And that's what's been all over the TV, is him making mistakes.
But even if he only fucked up that 0.1, like you've said, if you're 99%, if he fucked up that 1%, that's all that would show.
Yeah,
I think the result is the same. But it is disgusting. It is, to me, it's atrocious. Now, I have known it's one-sided in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, this is the most one-sided the media has ever been.
Right.
I think it's the most extreme version of it. Now, for the same reason, they got to sell tickets, Murdoch owned. Big dog in the big seats obviously said, this is the outcome that I want. Mm-hmm. And this is how we're going to get there.
Which you got to remember too, the current Liberal government gave the media companies a 100% tax offset for the last 2 years during the pandemic. It was $41 million of money that should have gone to taxpayers, paid into the coffers, was given back to the media companies. That's why they're
because they were so hard done by apparently while everyone was stuck at home, and yet the media was still...
Yeah, it was really hard to get advertisers when everyone was just stuck at home glued to their TVs every single day. Yeah, it was really, really difficult.
So where I think I don't want to fall into this trap of like, I can see what they're doing. I can see I can see the like, even, you know how ScoMo got smashed by that old bloke at the RSL.
Yeah.
Now, to his credit, he actually dealt with him like far more than the other bloke that tried to ask.
That was embarrassing. That was really embarrassing.
It was cringy. It was really, really cringy.
To say that, I'm ready for your hard question. Oh, no, I'm not taking it because we're only taking questions from the accredited media. Just say, no, mate, you're not media, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, just be real.
Yeah. But it was the way that it's now been portrayed after the fact. Like they've made the ScoMo thing a good thing. That old bloke screaming at him, they've made that
of course they have.
A good point.
Yeah.
And we just can't buy into it.
No.
So what we wanted, the reason why we tried to play with the tech today is because what we want to do. Can I talk about what we want to do?
Yeah, for sure.
What we want to do is we want to do our next show where we have the graphics on the screen, and we're going to go to every single political party's page and go through it line by line.
What their policies are.
What the policies are, and we'll actually discuss them.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, and it's this beautiful little trick that they play. It's just like, well, it's between these two guys. It's not.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not between those two guys.
Yep.
There are more things that are happening, but they just don't show it. And if they don't show it, you don't know. So that's why here at the RDO podcast, we want to show what some of the other options are.
Because there are other options, and you're right. Like the biggest myth is that there's only these two parties, and they showed two-party preferred polls. Why do you think they show that? They try to show that as if you've only got one of those two to pick from.
Yeah.
You don't. You've got other options. There's many democracies around the world that have multiple parties vying and that have a realistic chance of getting a leader elected. I was listening to something recently about France. France has 4 different parties that every single election vie for leadership. 4 options. We have that ability to have that here in this country. But clearly, especially the media landscape, which we have seen is so effective at programming people on which way to go, they tell us that there's only 2 options. And out of those 2 options, one of them's evil and one of them's a good way to go.
South Park did it. Choosing between a douche or a turd sandwich.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw it out there. Like, so I had a conversation with someone in the YouTube comments from last week's episode about politics and who I was going to vote for. And who I personally want to vote for is irrelevant, because you guys should vote for whoever you think is the party that is going to greatly align with your values and create the country that you want to live in. That's all that matters. My number one pet hate of election time is all the negative politics. I think it should be illegal.
Yeah.
I think that it is appalling that we live in a system where taxpayer-funded advertising can be used to negatively change mindsets against political parties. It should literally be, these are my policies. Yeah. It's on my fucking website. That's it. Dan Andrews, did you hear about this recently in Victoria? Dan Andrews got done by the Auditor General about, there was 2 ad campaigns he ran in the last 2 years, which are deemed to be political in nature and therefore are not eligible for public funding, which they were public funded.
Yeah, but that was the Auditor General's opinion.
That's right. That's the arrogance of politicians in this country now, is when he was done for doing something illegal and spending $13 million worth of taxpayer money in the process, his response to that was, oh, well, the Auditor General's entitled to their opinion. That's as far as it's gone,
Yeah.
at least as far as I know. I think that should be illegal. So if you want to actually reform this country properly and talk about proper democracy, forget all the negative, slanderous political advertising. That should be illegal. Just bring your policies forward. That's it.
Yeah, and can we get over the fact, like, I don't want to see anyone kissing any babies. I don't want to see anyone patting any
fucking
dog. I don't want
or-
to see people going to job sites and not shaking hands with people on job sites.
Yeah.
It's pantomime. You
That's
didn't
right.
do it before. If you only do it, like, let's get rid of this tradition that is useless and it obviously breeds bad outcomes.
Yep.
Let's not buy into it.
Yep.
Don't watch it. Don't, like, what's the policy? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
How are they going to help? And
this is, if you want to be anti-liberal, so the Liberal Party's run the country during the pandemic, right? We know how much money we've spent during the pandemic, and whatever you think about the things we've spent that money on is aside, we're in massive levels of debt. Now, what will be very interesting is in 6 months' time when we get the tally up of how much money, like taxpayer money, the Liberal Party spends on advertising to get themselves re-elected.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be astronomical.
But
It'll be
it's-
through the fucking roof.
I don't even think the advertising's where it's at. It's the tax cuts that they're just buying votes. Oh, you're going to have $420 extra in your bank account if you're on Centrelink. It's that stuff. That's the stuff that I hate.
And as we've discussed before, like, it's because the majority of Australians don't give a shit about politics.
Yeah, and they've
They
got
don't
small
care.
memories. Like short memories.
100%. Absolutely we do.
Oh, can we talk about that podcast that I think everyone needs to listen to on No Agenda?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's segue to that.
Okay.
We'll go far more into politics when we get
just
closer
wanna
to the election.
We
We
just
just want
want
to get the tech right.
Yeah, we want to set the tech up right. Maybe we do that. Maybe that's a Zoomie.
Yeah, potentially.
Might do that Zoom.
Yeah, it might be an easy way to do it.
There is a beautiful... We are big proponents of the No Agenda podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Curry is the podfather. He invented podcasting, so we thank the podfather.
Yep.
And they went on holidays. And when they go on holidays, because they do 2 shows a week, they sorry, take a step back. The No Agenda crew, they're inventing podcasting 2.0.
Yep.
They've got a beautiful ecosystem that they've built. They have a search engine called bingit.io.
Yep.
And any clip that's ever been played on their No Agenda show, and they're up to 1,442,
Yep.
you can just search. So when they go on holidays, they will put a medley together.
Yeah.
And the one that they did on the 4th of April is called COVID Retrospective. And it is a compilation in chronological order of news articles from the start, like maybe from 2019 all the way to now.
No, it's not all the way till now. So big key point on that retrospective is the whole episode's like 3 hours long or something like that, just of clips. But that's only about the first 6 months.
Is it? It is too. Sorry, it is too.
Because it's pre-vaccines.
Yeah.
So none of the stuff's about anti-vax or anything
Yeah.
like that. It is all just the news stories that were fed to us during that first 6 months of the pandemic. It is fascinating to listen to.
Like, and when you listen back to some of the stuff and you think about some of the views that we have now compared to then, it is wild.
It's fascinating.
It is
100%.
wild. So I didn't even say the episode number, did I? The episode is 1439 COVID Retrospective on the No Agenda podcast. Can you put a link to it?
Yeah, I'll put a link to it. Now, they don't have a YouTube channel. It's just podcast. That, like, here's the podfather. He invented podcasting. So it is just available on audio apps. So definitely download a podcasting 2.0 applicable app and listen to it on there. I mean, you can still get them from like Apple Podcasts and stuff like that at the moment. But honestly, yeah, it is fascinating. And this is, I guess this sort of ties in well to what we're just talking about, political advertising and how during the pandemic, 75% of the ad spend, and that was in America. I'm sure that's echoed around the world because the only people.
I don't know, because it's America and New Zealand are the only places that are
it's
allowed.
legal to actually advertise drugs. Yeah, but it's also.
But then again, I suppose we have like Codral and we do have it, just not pharmaceuticals.
And how many segments do you see on the morning news shows about vaccines or, Paxlovid coming out or antivirals or whatever? or how many
native advertising.
How many of them are anti ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine? Like, how many of those stories did you see? They're all paid for.
Yeah.
That ain't journalism. That's paid for native advertising.
Yeah.
So it is fascinating to go back and actually listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
On the COVID front, I saw a very interesting statistic a few days ago, which is that 70% of Australia's COVID deaths have occurred between November 2021 and now.
Okay.
70%.
Yep.
Why is that significant? Well, the vaccine rollout started in February 2021. So we're 12 months into the vaccine rollout. In November, we had the vaccinated economy in full effect in the country.
Yeah.
Right? So we were...
congratulations to all Queenslanders too, by the way, if you made it.
Oh, yeah, if you made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the vaccinated economy was in full effect. Not only that, but in November, don't forget, that was when Queensland brought in the teaching mandate, was in November, that by the start of the school year next year, all the teachers had to be vaccinated as well. And the whole idea behind it is to slow the spread and to stop people who work in high-risk locations spreading the virus. And yet, I think in November we were around the country, 90 to 95% double dosed. Mm-hmm. And since then, 70% of the deaths have occurred, even though we were told that Omicron was a more transmissible but a less deadly variant. Fascinating statistic. Read into it what you will.
It's plain to see, and when you look at the socials, and whenever Palaszczuk puts a little thing out there and saying like we're relieving restrictions, I can see why you'd think it's mental to do that now when more people are dying now than there were before. Yeah. You know, we had that we had lockdowns when we were in single digits for the week, and now we're doing
cases, not even deaths.
Yeah, now we're doing double-digit deaths a day, and we're loosening things. It makes no logical sense. So
did you see that clip of Yvette Darth this week too that went viral about her? Someone asked her about how ambulance workers have reported an absolutely massive increase in, I can't remember what the terminology is, but it's basically heart attack related calls.
Right.
And she's just doing this stupid thing of like, sometimes like you just go through these phases where the calls do go up, and who knows why that we could be experiencing a higher amount of these phone calls. I'm like, it's pretty clear as fucking that.
It's coming out.
But why is this relevant? We have said for a long, long time, this ride only stops when everyone chooses to get off it.
Yeah. And
I think you're seeing now, and look, regardless of what your thoughts on vaccination were at the beginning of the pandemic, the biggest, what's the word that I'm trying to use here?
Takeaway.
Yeah, probably, yeah. The biggest takeaway that I get from this is, unfortunately, as a society, the vast majority of people are more concerned about showing their friends, family, peers that they're doing the right thing and they're part of the group than they are of actually thinking for themselves and doing the right thing. And I was thinking about this.
I watched an embodiment of what you've just said.
Okay.
I was at a big crowd on the weekend.
Yeah.
In a city, moving around, big crowds moving around. Mm-hmm. And you watch people lock on to the back of, and I'm talking, this crowd would have been as far as the eye can see, 3 or 4 people wide, as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
And you watch people just tag on the back, tag on the back, tag on the back. Mm. We walked around them. There was nothing stopping anyone from, like they had created their own, the herd had created this bottleneck for no reason. We optimized our time by like an hour by just going, hey, like this is an arbitrary line.
That's right. You looked at the situation, you made an assessment, you made a move, and that worked.
Yeah. But I even heard people in my own group go, oh, shouldn't we be here?
Yeah.
And we're looking like, why? Why? They're creating a line for no reason.
Yeah.
They're creating a line because the herd's moving that way.
That's right.
It was, I think that goes to what you're trying to say.
There is a deep seat. This is what has upset me the most during the pandemic. There is a deep-seated part in all of our DNA, which is the will to not be ostracized from the group. It is a safety mechanism that human beings have always had because we're social creatures. And if you go back to the caveman days, being ostracized was a death sentence. If you were removed from the group, you would die. You wouldn't have food, you wouldn't have shelter, you wouldn't have protection, you would die. So it is inherent in all of us that we want to be part of a group. That has been manipulated and abused for 2 years straight. And now you're seeing this point where there's a real mental health element involved in this now.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So I had a conversation with someone during the week who was then having a conversation with someone that they know. And essentially it was surrounding the teachers' mandates because they obviously just removed mandates in Queensland from most sectors, but they've kept them for teachers. And they were saying, like, why does it make any sense? Like, the teacher and all the kids could go to a theme park on the weekend and associate together and with a whole massive group of people, and then yet come Monday morning, that teacher still needs to be vaccinated to protect the children. It makes no sense. It is not scientific. Right? It makes no sense at all. And then the other person was like, oh no, but it should be like that. And like, look, the teachers should just go and do the right thing. And this whole like tagline of do the right thing. Well, do the right thing by who? And this is what scares me a little bit, is that it's not the stuff now that's happening, but the last 2 years has bred a mentality where you were supposed to put strangers before you and your family every time. And you're actually seen as a danger if you're not willing to put strangers before you and your family every time now.
Yeah.
Where does that lead?
Yeah.
What's the next thing? And we've spoken about before, I think potentially some of the next things will be climate-related stuff. Oh, what, you're using power? Do you know how much your power, like we've got aircon on in here, do you know how much that's contributing towards climate change? There's communities that are going to flood because the oceans are rising because of you using the aircon. Turn it off. Is that going to be, and to me, the logical place that this ends up is the social credit system, just like in China. We've been bred to a point where we're already starting to police ourselves. What difference is it to bring a handy, useful app in to help us?
And that police ourselves thing, that is a fact. I've heard from numerous friends of mine in the police force who said their entire job for the last 2 years, and this is, I had some feds and some state police said that they just sit on a next to a phone, receive phone calls from people ratting on other people for the most innocuous stuff. Innocuous. The masking of kids,
it's disgusting.
I think is like Tarsha says it, or she goes, this cohort of students coming through are going to be
they're damaged.
They're damaged.
Look at Melbourne. Melbourne hosted the F1 last week, and I saw all the news stories about it. There's 500,000 people in the F1, not a mask inside.
The largest Formula One ever.
Yeah.
The largest Australian sporting event ever.
Yeah, 500,000 people at the F1, no masks. And yet in Melbourne, still, and they're talking about maybe getting rid of it for term 2, kids between the ages of, I think it's like 8 and 12, have to wear masks.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's supposed to fucking protect
only that
people.
cohort, yeah.
Only that cohort. So think about when you were a kid and how, like, you're looking at adults for cues. I'm inherently aware of this as a parent. Like, I'm at a stage now where Nate's language is starting to come along so well that we say something and he repeats it. And that can have very negative issues too. I was driving in the car the other day with Nate in the back, realised I'd forgotten something, said shit. And then Nate's sitting in the back there going, shit. And I didn't even look at him, didn't acknowledge it because I don't want him to know that that's a fun word to say. So that's just a microcosm of what we're doing to these fucking kids. So what do all these kids think? Why do I have to wear a mask and no one else does? Oh, it's because I'm dangerous to everybody else. What's wrong with me?
I'm dangerous to granddad and grandma.
That's right.
Yeah.
Voluntary masking of children, like when children wanting to put it on, I think it's heartbreaking, man. It's absolutely heartbreaking because these people are going to be damaged for life. This is their formative years that we have not only taken away from them, but we've demonized them during this period of time. It's Gross.
Did you see all the news about the airports and how they are?
How they fucked up everything?
Yeah, and so I saw it.
Yeah.
Front of house is fine. Security, getting through security, that's fine.
Yeah.
Some of the cafes were shut. Some of the lines for coffees were extremely long.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ready for people.
No.
But where I saw the hole is out on the tarmac.
Right.
There's no one around on the tarmac.
Mm-hmm.
And they aren't ready. And then to have Alan Joyce come out and blame the customers. Alan Joyce is the boss of Qantas.
Yeah.
Now, he's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was losing $1 billion. Qantas is losing $1 billion a month, and somehow Virgin increased their value. I can't remember what her name is. The lady that runs Virgin, killing it.
Yeah.
Joycey comes out and he's like, "All these customers think they can just come in and, because they bought a fucking ticket that they're going to get on a plane." Like it's
Yeah. It's bonkers, mate.
That's crazy.
But do you know what's even worse? We live in a society full of Qantas ticket holders who go, "Oh fuck, maybe it is my fault." If he's saying it's my fault, what have I done wrong? What can I do?
He got
what can I
slammed.
do next time, George?
He did come out and say it's nobody's fault.
No,
but it's your
it's
fault.
Qantas's fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault and your management team's fault.
Like, you know
because
how many
you didn't
tickets
hire
you
enough
sold.
staff. That's right. You know enough tickets, and like you
But-
sold the tickets first before you had the staff to be able to take that.
Mandates. There's a lot of people that aren't allowed to work.
Yeah, well,
that's a state
If
issue.
you look at the statistics, it's 5% of people. Do you know what the real fucking problem is? They haven't made any money for a long period of time, so they laid off heaps of staff, whether they were vaccinated or not. Now these people don't want to just come back at the click of their finger.
Yeah, I did speak to someone during the week who said that their friend used to work as ground crew, and they're getting calls every week saying, "Pick your number." It's like, pick a number.
Yeah,
Because they went and got better jobs.
that's right.
Yeah, pick a number and we're in.
Because that's the thing, like, when you look around the states, only Queensland has got 10% of people that aren't fully vaccinated. They aren't up to date. Losers. People made decisions. They've moved on. There's been a year now, or 6 months really, where these people have not been allowed to work in their chosen field of work. They've made a move. They've gone somewhere else. They don't need to be vaccinated. They ain't coming back like that.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
would they?
Yeah.
What, to come back to your fucking dead shit minimum wage job? You're sick.
Yeah.
Why would they do that after you've treated them that way?
Yeah.
But also at the same time, why are you selling me so many fucking tickets if you can't handle it?
That's what Tasha said. She's like, they know how many tickets they sold.
Yeah.
Like, they know how many people they can fit on a plane.
Yeah, you own Auto Bros. Would you sell cars you don't have available to sell?
Oh, if I could, yeah, I would. I would.
And then blame, like, why'd you buy a car I don't have,
What do you think?
idiot?
You think you just give me money and you're just going to get a car?
You
Like, that's not how
stupid
this
customer.
works, you idiot.
Right? Like, it's fascinating. And I do worry that in the last 2 years, people's psyche has been shifted to putting everyone before yourself. And that leaves you right to being abused again for the next thing. And again, I do feel a lot of the stuff, like, look at the moment with inflation issues. So we're being fucking told that the reason why fuel's so expensive and all your fruit and veggies are so expensive is because Putin invaded Ukraine. No!
It's because Biden decided to put sanctions on everything.
And it's because we've printed money for the last 2 years and created a massive debt. And that's why I've got a problem with the government then going getting us into more debt, using that money for political advertising to get themselves re-elected.
I don't care because the Aussie dollar is worthless.
Yeah.
And we felt that. Have you noticed that the fuels dropped heaps? Like, I think I paid $1.69.
Do you know what a factor in that might be?
What?
There's been one country in the world where a whole stack of people aren't using fuel at the moment.
Oh, China.
Chickadee China, the Chinese lockdown. If you guys have been paying attention to China at all, they're going for a zero COVID policy and literally locking people in their houses. That's like your best case scenario if you test positive for COVID.
That makes me slightly nervous that there is something else there.
Like T-Virus
Yeah. Could
from
be.
Resident Evil.
Yeah. Oh, I knew where you were going. It's one of my favourite franchises.
Yeah, I know that you do, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I've also been watching Resident Evil speedruns lately. This is how my life has changed since becoming a parent. I got no fucking time, right? One of my favourite parts of video games is storylines.
Yeah.
So now instead of me buying a video game, sitting down, going through it and immersing myself, I just watch a speedrunner do it and watch the story in like an hour and it's done.
Do you know what's funny? I've been watching the Halo series.
Oh yeah.
And I can't get into it.
Right.
But only because I have such an emotional attachment to the game.
Okay.
Because the storyline is so epic.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to Tasha, I'm like, this is not immersive. This is a one-way exchange. Whereas when I was playing the game, you're in it and you feel it.
You feel like you're part of the story. Whereas
Yeah.
when you're watching it, it's a story that's being told to you.
And anyone that's not a gamer, I please go and just have a go at playing a good storyline game.
Yeah.
And I would say Halo is an epic one if you're into sci-fi, but do like
The Elder Scrolls games are great
no,
stories.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. You want something with cool cutscenes like what was the one? Far
Cry and stuff. Yeah.
Play like Far Cry 5. That storyline is like radicalized religious groups that are like in the Midwest in America.
Yeah.
It is hectic. You feel it. You feel it. You are in it, and it is the. And let's make no mistake, these video games cost more than a lot of movies.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in production value. Actors, like real actors, are in these games now.
Yeah.
So it is, have a go. Like before you knock it, have a go.
Yeah, but just to get back around to the original T-Virus point, obviously in China there's some pretty hectic stuff going on at the moment with people being locked up, like massive lockdowns, going for a COVID zero policy, pets being killed, like it's pretty hectic. But on the flip side, China's got 1 billion people that live there. I think it's something like 26 million people are currently on lockdown at the moment in China. All of a sudden, there's a lot of fuel available on the market because 26 million people who are using fuel every day are no longer using it.
Swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
That's one of the reasons why fuel prices have come down. But if you look at our country, so my wife Amanda, she went and did grocery shopping yesterday, just a small shop, and she came home. She's like, I can't believe it. I spent $150. I bought some of the baby stuff's expensive, nappies, formula, stuff like that. But she's like, I didn't even buy any meat or anything. It was $150. Like,
yeah. And
I'm like, yeah, that's inflation. That's like, so we get told all these bullshit inflation figures. The amount of stuff that you bought yesterday should probably have a year or two, or probably 2 years ago, would have cost you $80. It's almost doubled in that period of time.
So what's the American numbers? 8.5% now. It was 7.5. They're now saying 8.5. Australia's was 3.5.
Yeah,
it's 25
it's
to 30.
20 to 25, 30%. I think. Yeah, it's massive. And just look at like you said, forget all the noise, block out all the noise. Look at your day-to-day life. Look at the things that you do week in, week out. How much money are you spending on the things that you've always done before? Is your savings going up or down?
Yeah.
Right? It's all going down. And the problem is, getting back to my original point, a massive majority of people, I believe, are okay with it because they feel like, well, it's just the cost I've got to pay to help Ukraine, or it's just the price I've got to pay to help whoever. Like, this is just how it is. Like, I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to pitch in. And it's like, no, if you actually realise the real reasons why these things are happening, we could do something about it. But we're just being sold that you better be a good person and put everyone else before yourself. And if you don't, you're a bad person. And you'll be ostracised.
And on that note,
let's leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. We'll see you next RDO.